Alright. Hello. Morning. I don't know why I'm doing this, but I thought it might be useful. Today we've got Still Into You by the band Paramore, covered by Aladam. I've only got, let me see here, this much of the song because, I don't know, that's how much vocals I did because I got bored. Let's start at the top, shall we? Oh shit, I didn't even do the lead harmonies. I'll do them real time, I guess. This is all of the session. Actually, let me make sure this is organised well. I don't need that one. Hide. Okay, right. Sorry, bit of organisation going on. That's fine like that, but it needs to be coloured. I'm a bit sick, so I apologise about any splutters or stutters that may happen. But I'm going to try my best. That's doing fuck all, so we can get rid of that. That's annoying. Whatever. That is a reverb. I'm guessing that's snare reverb. No, it's not. Oh, vocal reverb. Okay, sorry. Just a bit of organisation going on. We're good. So, I'm literally going to start at the top of this mix, and we're going to work our way down. So first things first is how I'm actually organising the project. I do this every single time the exact same way, so that when I'm mixing every single time, I know the way I'm going to do it. So I know where everything's going to be preemptively, before I've even touched anything. I know where everything will be. And that's something I always recommend people do. But nobody ever listens to me. Fat kick. By the way, this isn't the final mix. This is a few versions before the final mix, so it's a bit shit, but hopefully it will still get the point across. Ah, balls. There you go. So, kick is all going into one kick bus, which I put right next to the guitars because you always end up tweaking something with the drums, and then you need to tweak the guitars. So instead of having to go, like, say if my drum bus was after the drums, I'd have to go all the way over here, then all the way over back here to tweak the guitars, and then all the way back and back. So it's just easier to go, I need to change the kick, I need to change the strings, I need to change the snare, change the strings, whatever. It's just easier. So, kick is all, by the way, in Studio One you can see where each of these are going. And for those who don't know, a bus is just when you get all of these audio files and send it to one channel. So it's kind of like a group, you can imagine it. So yeah, snare drum is going to snare drum bus. Hi-hat and the rest of the cymbals are going to the cymbal bus. Toms are going to a tom bus. And then everything else is going to mix bus, which is also known as a master. But I don't call it the master because it's not a master, it's a mix bus. So yeah, that should just be called bass. Sorry. Yeah, let's start with guitars. These are the guitars and bass I was sent. And then this is processed. So yeah, the bass is a little bit, no offense to the wonderful person who recorded that, who's a fantastic bassist, but unfortunately there was a little bit noise in the background, so sometimes like it carries on, the audio carries on past where the guitars are, which makes things sound a little bit messy, but yeah. Guitars raw. And yes, I did tune them down an octave, kind of, we'll get to that. I'm going to disable all of these effects. So the first thing we have in the signal chain is Archetype Gojira, which is, I'm literally just using this thing here, which takes the audio and pitches it down. By an octave. So I have the octave under the original guitars, and that's great because it sounds thick. So yeah. Sorry, I'm texting. Where was I? Yes, so I love doing that, like when it's a guitar part which doesn't have like a lot of oomph or like a lot to it, but it's just like a single note being played, like on this. Sometimes it can sound a bit thin in mixes where there's a lot going on, so I like to tune it down an octave and then blend it back in with the original. So just so you can really hear what's going on, I'm going to turn this all the way up. So that's the effect. This is important later, so I'm going to do that later. So this is the raw sound with only the amplifier active. The amplifier I'm using is the Meshuggah amp, the Gent Meshuggah thingy, with an overdrive pedal, and basically overdrive pedals just make things sound a little brighter. Which for something like this is important. I didn't even play around with the mics, whatever. Oh well. So yeah, the amp is a nameless binaural DSP, which is based upon the Meshuggah amp, the custom Meshuggah. I don't know what to call it, but it's great for kind of low tuned stuff, like genty stuff. So why I'm using it on this song, I don't know, but it's just the amp I'm most comfortable with, so I just used it. Might not be the best choice per se, but oh well, don't care. This microphone is a Dynamic 57, which is an SM57. This microphone is a Condenser 184, which I've forgotten the original brand of. And then you shove them together. Now back to this EQ, because this EQ is important, but I didn't turn it on originally because it's only important once the tone is active. Basically what this EQ is doing is boosting and cutting before the amp. So before anything goes through the amp, this is boosting and cutting and doing all that stuff. And the reason this is important is because certain frequencies go through an amp, and when you turn them, I'll just do a demonstration. So fuck, I'll turn it on. Achoo! 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 Sorry. So you can sweep through and you can kind of hear what would happen if I boosted or cut a frequency here. It doesn't only, when you're boosting before an amp, it doesn't only cut or boost a certain frequency, it prioritizes that frequency band over other frequency bands. It's really hard to explain, so I'm just going to show you. So say if I was like, this guitar amp doesn't have a lot of low end to it, and it's quite thin in the high end, and it's really glassy, that kind of area, which is up here, that kind of stuff. So say I was like, oh, this needs more low end, which it doesn't need more low end, which is why I've done it in the final mix. Let's hear what happens when I turn up the low end before the amp. That's nowhere near the same as just turning up the EQ before or after the amp. It's a different kind of sound. It sounds like it's prioritizing and distorting that frequency band more than other frequency bands, which in turn introduces gain in that specific frequency band and nothing else. I don't know why I did that. I don't need that. So basically, this is before or this is without the EQ, and then this was with. It's quite subtle, but in the mix it doesn't matter, especially this cut here in the mids. I do that very often to cut the mids, and then just Matthew Preston's guitar being cheap. There's some scratchy, weird frequencies up there. Sorry, Matthew Preston's guitar. This is EQ number 1. Looks mental, but just stick with me. We'll go through this systematically. Raw tone. A little bit of low end, which I added more of later. Because then I've only removed this frequency band here because I wanted to boost the rest of the mids, but if I boosted the rest of the mids, this part would get too loud, so instead I just cut that part and then boosted. So that's why I did the boost directly after cutting that area. This kind of area for a guitar is really important, and everyone just ignores it because it's the mids. But believe it or not, mids are important. Same story here. I'm cutting right, or I'm boosting right after. kind of where that area is, and I'm cutting at the same time because there was a frequency which is sticking out, which I'm going to do first because that always sticks out with this impulse response. That frequency is a pain in the ass. Every single time I use Nameless, it's there. And then we have this low pass filter. Just because all of this past like 8K is just completely useless and it just sounds out of place in a mix, so I just get rid of it. Then we're boosting the high end. Not gonna lie, don't really agree with myself there, but whatever. Another EQ. Nope, that is a gate. Wonderful. The reason I did this after the amp and not before the amp is because the amp was introducing some noise. It wasn't the actual guitar recording itself. It was the amp which was introducing noise. So I did it after the amp. This is a PoogTech EQ. Do not get me started on this thing. It's like if you just got everything magical and just put it into a plugin. Like, oh yes, it doesn't just boost the low end, it doesn't just boost the high end, it boosts it in such a musical way. I just love it. Everything about it. It's just perfect. This is bass. Oh shit. I lied to you, that wasn't raw. This is raw. Now, I know it sounds stupid, just without anything, like, without it being in context, bass just always sounds stupid, but it's just the way it is. Bass is just a stupid instrument. Now we're clicking and buzzing and all of that stuff, but in the mix, once you slap millions of dBs worth of distortion over it, it goes away anyway, so who cares. This is Dark Glass, or Dark Glass, depending where you're from, which is my favourite bass amp thing. Sometimes I disable the cab, but I didn't this time. And we're using a Dynamic 52. I believe that's a Shure Beta 52, and that's a Shure SM57. Don't know why that's important information, but now you know. Once again, this PoogTech. I will one day give examples of why this actually sounds better, but all you need to know right now is this specific EQ has very subtle harmonic distortion and very subtle musical EQ curves, which just makes things sound better. It's just not the same as a regular EQ, just trust me. I'm boosting 8K and I'm boosting 60 Hz, and it sounds like the entire thing, the entire bass range has been affected. And it hasn't. EQ. Again. Boosting sub because there was none. Boosting lows because there was none. Getting rid of some low mids because it sounded ugly. Don't need to explain it, sounds stupid. Great, that's that. CLA 76, which is an 1176 FET compressor. Really slow attack, really slow release. I think I'm taking like 6 or 7 dBs off. Ish. And I only did this because the bass volume was getting higher and lower. This is the strings bus, so the bus that you send both the strings and the rhythm to. And on here we have another PoogTech, because yeah. By the way, this isn't actually called a PoogTech, like the original hardware version of this. The original version of this is called a Pultec EQP1A, not Poog, but Poog is the guy that modelled this EQ for waves. So yeah, and I'm just adding some mids to the strings bus. That's doing nothing, so I don't need it. Don't know why I always do that. Okay. Done. Kick. This is where shit gets spicy. This is the kick. This is the kick raw. Ew, right? Yeah. Gross. I'm gonna turn off all the bus stuff because otherwise this is going to get mighty confusing. So that's the kick with all the processing. This is the kick raw. Yeah, it's not great. Yeah, it's a bit shit really, but this is from, I should go over this really quickly before I do drums. Wow, that's a big window, Jesus Christ. We're recording. Good. Had to check. This is the DW Collector's All Maple kit with the Tower Bell Brass and Zildjian, vinyl, Zildjian. Mostly Zildjian symbols for the vinyl there. The A custom, K dark, A. So Zildjian A symbols. And then the DW shells with a Tower Bell Brass kick. And I am separating in Superior Drummer 3 the kick overheads, the kick room, and the kick reverb all into separate tracks. And I am using all of the channels, pretty much. So yeah, just so you know. That's not doing fucking anything, so I don't know why it's there. Dumbass. That's also doing nothing. Brilliant. Off to a great start. EQ number 1. Once again, not all EQs sound the same. API EQs have a very distinct sound compared to Pultex, compared to ProQ, compared to whatever other EQs you're using. So pick and choose the right EQ for the job. Okay, I'm taking off 5.6 dBs of 16K. I'm going to make a copy of this EQ so that I can actually show you what's happening. 5, 4. Yeah, because I want to actually show you guys what's happening in real time. I could just make a new instance of this, couldn't I? It's the API 560 stereo. So this 16k hertz and this 8k, this 16k range and this 8k range is super ugly. It's that range on the kick. So I took off like 5 dBs of that. And to be honest, usually I'd do more than that. Did the same thing with 8k. Just because that range is just so ugly. So yeah, how much did I take off? Another 4.8. And now I know what you're thinking. The kick has no high end. Where's all the high end gone? But that's where this beauty comes in. The bit which actually matters. And then I'm getting rid of 250 and 125. 250 is this range. Gross. 125 is this range. And I'm guessing I'm boosting 63 and 31. Yeah. So that's the first EQ. Just to do it in real time in front of your eyes, I guess. And then this is Virtual Mix Rack, which is one of my favourite personal plugins. I'm also inputting 19 dBs, by the way, just to get it, the gain right. Okay, so what's happening here is... don't need this one, I'm pretty sure. Nope. This virtual channel is doing basically fuck all. The only thing that it's doing is adding like a bit of saturation to the kick, so when it hits it clips the loudest bit of it and kind of distorts it in a way where the shape is waved, the wave is shaped and the saturation happens. simplest explanation I can give. Saturation is when the wave is shaped, kind of. It's very subtle. Then we've got this EQ taking away 1.1 dBs at 3.2 kilohertz, but this EQ is based upon the 1070E3 Neve channel strip, and this EQ is so precise, and like if you take off 1 dB on this EQ, it sounds like 7 on another. So yeah, that. I'm using the distressor here. Great thing about the distressor, if you need one plugin for like a compressor plugin, get this one, because this range is VCA up to 61. This one is an opto compressor, and this one is a FET76 type one, where it's got the all-in pressed in. Just because I hate kicks where like the transient goes on forever, so I've just basically got rid of like the bit after the transient, because it's just ugly. And then we're adding a whole bunch of low end, and then that's doing nothing. Okay, saturator, wonderful. This saturator is one that creates even order harmonics based upon a fundamental frequency in a way which is especially pleasing. You can choose third order or second order. It's still kind of always etching towards, I think it's third actually, so this is odd order. Never mind, this is an odd order saturator. So it's kind of, it's always kind of etching towards odd order, but you can use like the shape and the depth knobs, and you can kind of get an even order saturator here. And yeah, their transient shaper to get rid of some of the ugly sustain that we introduced by saturating that hard. So yeah, that's that. This is the overhead channel. Getting rid of nothing there. Brilliant. Why do I feel like it's going to be a trend? Nope, we did do stuff there. Okay, cool. The only thing on this is just the virtual mix track then. Once again, saturating. That's not doing anything, so ignore that. Once again, this EQ is so like extreme. So like that's adding 2 dBs there, 10 dBs there, 40. Okay, that is quite a lot of EQ, but still. This is on the Nuke setting, so this is similar to an LA76 or 1176, sorry. With all the ratio knobs pressed in. Hard to explain. And then we're adding just a little bit of low end there. Okay, next. Kick room. So getting rid of just the excess low end there, just because sometimes that can mess with compressors. Once again, the only reason why I removed this much low end is because otherwise going into the compressor, the low end is the only thing that would be compressing. That's another story for another day. Sounded like someone was knocking on a door. That kind of frequency range, so I got rid of it. And that's like somebody's knocking on a, what would it be? Higher pitch equals thicker, right? I think. A thicker door. Just ringing frequencies up there on the high end, and then compressing the shit out of it with the actual thing this time. And 1176 with the all pressed in, which means that the ratio is 4, 8, 12, 24, 44. The ratio is 44. Okay, snare. Let's go. Yes, very much so. Snare. Okay. This is going to be probably the longest bit, but I will. Did I use 3x saturators? No, I didn't. Okay, good. Okay, good. Okay. I thought I used 3 saturators, so I was going to kill myself. For my standards, that's a fairly tame EQ. The main thing here, I think, is this kind of area. Like, this is important too, obviously, but I'll get to that. Actually missed it a little bit, but oh well. Yeah, and then this range. Because it's ugly. And then this bit. Once again, just a bit of mid-range. A little bit of ringing, get rid of that. And then some of that ugly ass high range, which is the staple of Superior Drummer 3 Death and Darkness for some reason. It just has a really bad high end. Compressor, not saturator. Okay, so 25 millisecond attack, 323 millisecond release. So essentially what I'm doing here is getting rid of all of the ring and adding a lot of attack. Sometimes I find with this compressor it can leave it sounding too thin, but that didn't happen here, so let's just be grateful for that. I saturated because it was too thin, never mind. And I compressed again. Compressing after a saturator and compressing before as well is one of my favourite things to do. Essentially what you're doing is creating a whole shit ton of attack which goes into a saturator, and then the saturator like distorts the transient in a way which makes the snare super fat, and then the compressor after to make sure that the transient is still hearable, because obviously you've just compressed it down using a saturator. Final EQ, just adding a bit of high end. And that's the snare. But we're not done yet. This is the snare room. Okay. Moving a bit of this fundamental frequency because it was a bit loud. Removing some mids. And... ew. Yeah. The gain isn't doing anything. I put that all on all of these channels preemptively, by the way. It's just something I always do. Sometimes I use it, sometimes I don't. Oh yeah. Saturating. Not doing anything. Getting rid of like 0.5 dBs of 2.16 kilohertz. That's not doing anything, and that isn't doing anything. And then the distressor, and nuking the bitch, if you would. Saturator. I definitely would have gone harder with that if I could, but I couldn't, so I didn't. Lovely. Getting rid of the fizz. Nearly said the viz. Not the riz. We're not getting rid of any riz. This is the... shut up. This is a snare room. Just getting rid of like a bunch of ringing frequencies. Now obviously I did this in... like while listening to the rest of the track, because you should never mix in solo. Don't mix in solo. Silly thing to do. But I'm doing this in solo so that you can actually hear what I did. Yeah. It's a bit counterintuitive, but whatever. Virtual mix rack. Again. Oh yeah. Saturator. Not doing anything, what a surprise. Getting rid of some high end, 5 dBs, getting rid of 0.58 of... I bet I just copied that over actually, didn't I? Yeah, I did. And then this is compressing the shit out of something. Which is what you're meant to do to room mics. The attack on this one, 10 equals really slow, but 0 equals really fast. Same with release. That's the room. And then reverb. Oh shit, I'm not done yet. Oops. Fuck off. Saturate your room mics. Always saturate your room mics. And then EQ. The only reason I did this and got rid of all that high end is because on the actual track, not that I was trying to copy the original track, but on the original track, the room mic is super like low endy and like really has a lot of mids, but has no high end on it whatsoever. Like if you listen to the original track, the room mic is super dark, and I kind of like that as well. Like I think high end in the room mics just sounds awful. Like this, that awful. I'll just show you actually. This bit. The fuck? This bit. Gross, right? So I just get rid of it. So this is without that. I just think it sounds gross. So yeah, that's that. This is a reverb. I'm not doing it. It's just a reverb. Deal with it. Took out some low range because it sounded like shit. Bang. Hi-hat probably didn't do anything. Nope. But I did add 26 input decibels. 26 decibels of input. Tom. I probably did all the processing that on the actual tom room. Or on the tom bus. And that's all of the drums. Now for the drum buses. The kick bus has just a little bit of EQ on it. Please, there you go. Just had a bit too much high end on it. Snare drum bus. Actually, I'm not gonna lie, I kind of prefer that without all of that shit. Whatever. Yeah, I kind of scooped the snare. I didn't realise I did that. I'm just gonna undo some of that. That's all. Yeah, there you go. Perfect. So EQ is just taking out a little bit of mid-range, just because it sounded just a little bit too much. But I overdid it. But now I undid it. I undid the overdo, and I'm adding 1.2 decibels of punch. Okay. Cymbals. I do like all of my cymbal processing on the cymbal bus itself, because I think if you like mix the cymbals individually, it just sounds a bit bad. So yeah, I didn't do that. I just did it on the cymbal bus. Otherwise, it sounds disconnected. Kramer Pi, which is a fantastic compressor. I don't know what it's based after or what, but it's just like it adds something. It's just magical. It's the only way I can put it. So yeah, and then EQ adding a lot of 12k, 4 decibels of 12k, which is just the most brilliant frequency range for cymbals. This isn't a done mix, so I'm mixing as we go along, but yeah. This is an EQ. No, it's not. This is. Oh my god, sorry. I was soloing something and got distracted. This is a compressor, hence why it says SSL comp. This has an attack time of 30. This has a release time of 0.1 seconds. Essentially, the purpose of this compressor is to make everything in the drums sound glued together. So yeah. Adding a bit of high end, more high end. And a bit of 100 hertz, lovely. And then we're taking out a bit of 2.7 and adding a bit of 214 for some fucking reason. Right. Like I said, this is not a done mix. I'm still, it's a bit shocking at the minute actually. But, well, these are Bethany's vocals, and I'm going to. If you are watching this, Bethany, for whatever reason, I apologise because I'm currently going to deconstruct the vocal mix, and it means listening to your voice soloed. Sorry. Yes. Okay. That's just a gate, just to get rid of any background and stuff that we don't need. This is the 1176, like I said before. Taking off like a good 10 dBs right there. Mid attack, mid release, all in, of course. I use that compressor in particular because it saturates the living shit out of the vocals, and I think that's cool. Saturating, not doing anything. Adding 1.2 dBs of high end, 6.2 in IK to be precise. We're using an Opto style compressor. Taking off about 3 dBs and adding a little bit of shimmer here. And we go to a better place. There you go. See? Nice. The PoogTech EQ, adding more high end. Just make sure it sounds good. And DS. Just to get rid of some of the sibilants. And that's basically the mix. In fact, that is the mix. That's all of it. So yeah, I didn't do the lead bits, so I might just do that now. Right, let's do this. Classic Matthew Preston fucking harmony bullshit. I'm gonna gate that because there's a bit of ring. Okay, let's add Plini, because what other one would I use? I can't remember if in the original song these are distorted guitars or not, but I'm going to guess that they're not. So I'm not going to distort them. I love this. Just a bit much though, isn't it, really? Actually, never mind, I'm not going to use that. Sounds a bit shit. I'm really not sure how to go about this, because if I do that then... Okay, I'm going to bust these two first. I'm going to bust them together and then process them. Because otherwise, if I pan them left and right, the reverb would also be panning left and right, which is just not very nice. So yeah, let's do that. Bass, strings bass, good, did it for me. I'm going to compress each of these as well. using I'm going to use a DPR 402 because it needs to be fast. Perfect. This is not sounding good, but we will get there. I'm going to listen to the original song because I want to make sure that the original vocals or the original guitar track isn't useful. It is distorted. Okay, now we're talking. I thought it wasn't, but it is. We will use Polini then. It seems like this track is consistently out of time. Am I going insane? So I'm going to go ahead and just move it over a little bit, maybe. It looks like it's only here it's a little bit out of time. Yeah, it's not all the way out of time all the time, it's just that one bit. God damn it, Matthew. If you're out of time all of the time, I could have just shifted the entire thing over. But I cannot do that. Fucking hell. Well, that sounds awful. In no universe do I get that to fit in a time frame when I've already mixed the rest of the track. Oh well, this is why you mix everything all at once and don't leave one weird guitar part for the end. Anyway, that's the mix. Thank you very much for watching. Chip in next time when I castrate a sheep.